Monsters have been the face of our irrational fears and captured our imaginations since the beginning of civilization. Like our fears, they come in all shapes and sizes and meet us in our nightmares. They can be physical manifestations of evil, serve as metaphors that reflect our current anxieties, or they can be cautionary tales about the consequences of man's meddling with the natural order. Movies have been the perfect medium to explore the darker corners of our minds and help create the iconic representations that we will forever associate with these movie monsters.
First of all, let me say this. Before we even get started, respect all you parents and everything, but I gotta level with you. I don't really like kids. I don't have them, don't want them, think they're weird looking, and they smell funny. To tell you the truth, I don't know what's more unsettling, Rosemary's Baby or a second grader's school portrait. No, not your kids. I'm sure your kids are great. Anyways, I'm Jeremy, and without further ado, it's time to dive into every parent's worst nightmare with a list of creepy kids movies. First on the list is Village of the Damned. It's a sci-fi horror movie that focuses on a strange occurrence in a small town. Anybody that enters it falls unconscious, like they were just visited by Bill Cosby. All of the women and teenage girls strangely end up pregnant. Yeah, and all the babies are born on the same day and have the same weird eyes and platinum blonde hair. As they get older, it becomes apparent that they lack empathy, personality, and have a hive mind of sorts. Using telekinesis, they start to destroy everyone that's standing in the way of their hostile takeover. Eventually, our lead realizes that these little shits are demons or aliens or some shit, and that the village has to be leveled with a time bomb. Killer kids that looked like models for Wonder Bread. John Carpenter did a remake in the early 90s, and it's actually pretty good too. Rosemary's Baby is a horror masterpiece. It covers the conception and birth of the Antichrist. It's written and helmed by director and rapist Roman Polanski. It tells the story of the ill-fated Rosemary and her husband. They move into a New York City high-rise and are befriended by some very eccentric neighbors. Rosemary and Guy are at a party at the neighbor's house and are drugged. Rosemary has visions of being raped by a demon and starts experiencing unusual symptoms, like fucking claw marks all over her body, and a craving for raw meat. Rosemary's Baby is a very well-made movie that it's claustrophobic, suspenseful, and strange, which I really like. Polanski must have really had some issues with his neighbors. Wonder why. Don't Look Now is about a husband and wife that take a trip to Venice following the drowning death of their daughter. While there, they meet a psychic that claims to see her ghost. The couple has visions of a figure in a red coat, the same coat that their daughter was wearing when she died. It's like a really good drama mixed with a bizarre, maybe supernatural element. It seems to be building to this very tense crescendo before taking a hard right that I don't think anybody saw coming. I'll say this, the abrupt end will either work for you or not, but for me, it was seriously a gut punch. Shocking and disturbing as fuck. The Omen, the movie that ruined the name Damien for kids and parents alike. It may be the quintessential creepy kids movie. It stars Gregory Peck and Lee Remick, and opens with a happy couple losing their first child. Alright, remember this one. This is Creepy Kid Filmmaking 101. Gotta lose a kid, adopt a kid, and watch your nanny get murdered or commit suicide.
Look at me, Damien. It's all for you.
A priest at the hospital convinces Peck to adopt an abandoned baby and to raise him as their own to spare his wife the grief, like a little switcheroo. Surprise! Damien is actually the fucking Antichrist, and in an attempt to try to save the world, Pops decides Damien gotta go. Based on a novella by horror lord Stephen King, Children of the Corn stars Sarah Connor and I don't know who that is. They play a couple searching for help after accidentally hitting a boy that ran out of the cornfields and into the path of their car. They find a town that seems abandoned until they discover its only inhabitants are some scurry little Amish kids led by their very, very punchable leader Malachi. The couple realizes that these kids slaughtered all the adults in town and are part of some bizarre cult that worships an unseen force out in the cornfields that surround the town. It's okay, not a great movie, but it's fine. 1989's Pet Sematary is one of the most shocking King movies in his obscenely large list of adaptations, which are hit and miss to say the least. In it, a family relocates to a small town off a road frequently traveled by 18-wheelers. One day, the neighbor tells Lewis, the father, about a pet cemetery. When the neighbor was a young man, they brought someone back, and the person went nuts, and the town people ended up having to kill him. So what the hell? Let's toss the family cat in there. Maybe pepper in a dead toddler and a wife murdered by said toddler. Pet Sematary is a bleak, kind of zombie creepy kid mashup that packs a nasty punch. This character really does come out of nowhere and barely has shit to do with the rest of the movie, but Zelda will traumatize you. 1993's The Good Son stripped away all the supernatural elements, and what's left is a fairly engaging psychological thriller about what happened to Kevin McAllister after being left home alone so many times. It stars a young Frodo Baggins and Macaulay Culkin. Wood plays a character that recently moved into his aunt and uncle's house. He befriends his cousin, played by Culkin. At first, everything seems fine, until he reveals himself to be a complete psychopath. The movie wants to be more than it is, and it all actually comes off pretty silly. I guess 12-year-old McCulkin decided that he wanted to shed his image as just another good child actor, and look how that turned out. Orphan is a creepy little spin on the genre. Or is it? The story follows a couple that are having trouble following the stillbirth of a dearly wanted kid. They adopt a boy named Damien. Wait, what movie are we talking about? Oh yeah, they have two other kids, a 12-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. Mom and Pop decide that third time is a charm, I guess, and decide to adopt a 9-year-old Russian girl named Esther. Like the tagline implies, there's something wrong with Esther. She's out the gate odd, too grown and sophisticated for a 9-year-old. Bad things start happening, culminating in Esther trying to bang her adopted father, luckily unsuccessfully. That scene will make you squirm, like definitely. If it doesn't, jump off a cliff. Esther decides that the only way they can be together is if she murders his family. Always sounds legit. Orphan's twist ending is bonkers, and you're either gonna go with it or you're gonna groan. I chose the latter. Sinister is an above-average spook story starring the guitarist of Slipknot. It opens with grainy footage of a family being hanged, and that snuff reel sets a dark cloud over the rest of the proceedings and makes this movie succeed pretty well, at least in the atmosphere department. We meet a true crime writer played by Ethan, always reliable even when he's just cashing a paycheck hawk. He moves his family into the scene of the aforementioned crime to inspire him for his next book, because studying the morbid details from the safety of your own home just doesn't make for a very good horror movie. He uncovers a box of innocuously titled home movies that contain the grisly murders of several families, all committed by an unseen assailant. It's up to Hawk to solve the mysterious origins of these films, even if it puts his family's lives in danger. His son's crawling out of boxes like a ghost in a Japanese horror story. His daughter's drawing the murders of a family that look eerily similar to his own. Hawk soon realizes that a child has gone missing in every murder, a victim or a perpetrator. So there you have it, folks. A list of reasons why kids creep me the fuck out. What are some of the best or most terrible movies involving creepy kids? Leave those below. I'm trying to decide what to do next week's video on, so hook me up with some suggestions. If you liked the video, then smash that like button. If you loved it, leave me a comment and hit subscribe, and then click the little bell for notifications so that you can know when a new video drops. Say hey on social media. I'm Jeremy B. Terrible on both Twitter and Instagram. This was Movie Monsters. I'm Jeremy, signing off.